All right, tonight on this Wednesday night, November the 19th, we're going to get you up to par on the latest between Donald Trump and the Saudi prince. They had a meeting in the White House. We're going to give you the details on what they discussed, the ramifications of that, what that means for the future of the Middle East. Also, meanwhile, France has said it will help draft a constitution for a Palestinian state as Abbas visits Paris. All the while, that's happening. America's deadliest volcano is entering an unprecedented 72-hour tremor phase as there is some fears that there could be an eruption that may be looming that puts like 3 million people at risk. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, a large volcano has erupted there and has sent ash clouds 6,500 feet into the air and is actually disrupting air traffic there as we know it. And then back here in the States, for the first time, a individual has been hospitalized with a strain of virus that is associated with the bird flu that has never been seen before and is now confirmed in a human, again, in Washington, who this individual is hospitalized. Are we now looking at the next pandemic? What could come of this? We don't know, but we got a lot to talk about and to cover in tonight's podcast, so let's get after it.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, what's going on, guys? It is Wednesday night, November the 19th. We're getting closer and closer to Thanksgiving. Tomorrow will be 1 week from Thanksgiving Day. And I always say once Thanksgiving is over, it just moves like a bullet and it just speeds along. And then before you know it, we're at the end of the year. And then we're heading into 2026. Unbelievable. But that's how things are going. It seems like things are accelerating. It's intensifying. It's speeding up, not just life in general, but everything. And one of the things that I think is accelerating is the birth pangs of the Messiah. You can find that reference in Matthew 24. Jesus references the signs of the coming of the Lord. He said they'll be as in travail. They'll be as in labor pains or birth pains. And again, we all know that when you get into that third trimester and as you get closer to the delivery, those birth pains are going to intensify in magnitude, but also they're going to intensify in how tremendous they are in magnitude, but they're going to accelerate in the level that they're intensifying as well. So I think everybody can agree that we're seeing that. We're seeing that take place in real time. Now, speaking of, we know and before we get into this, guys, let me do this. First of all, we want to welcome you to the broadcast. This is End Time Headlines, news and headlines from a prophetic perspective. If you're new, first time coming on to the program, first time joining us, maybe in the live chat or the rebroadcast of this on YouTube, we want to welcome you to the program. Let us know where you're tuning in from and that you're new. I welcome you, all of our admins. If you're in the chat, you'll see them with the little blue wrenches. They're going to welcome you. And our whole ETH family wants to officially welcome you to the program as well. We hope that you stick around and we hope that you find value in our content and you'll be blessed by our ministry and our messages. And if you'll do us a favor, you guys as well as everybody that knows the drill, hit that like button so that way it can be pushed out on the algorithm and other people can find us. And you guys listening by Apple or by Spotify, we appreciate you as well. Again, don't forget to take a moment, go in. If you haven't done it, give us a good review. That's just like hitting that like button. So having said that, we've got that out of the way. I want to get right into this. We know that Israel is it's the fig tree. And Jesus said, you know that when it begins to blossom, when it begins to bloom, when it gets to that point, you know that summer is near. So theologians all agree that Israel is the prophetic time clock. It is the prophetic timepiece It's the main component of Bible prophecy. That's why keep your eyes on what happens in Israel. Keep your eyes on what takes place with them, Israel and Jerusalem. And consequently, I'm going to take you back. We're going to do a blast from the past here. I'm going to give you an article. This was from Axios. And this was back on November the 13th. So this was only 6 days ago. This was prior to his meeting. We're talking about Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, and his meeting with with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. I want to read this to you. President Trump told Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on a phone call last month, so that would have been in the month of October, that with the Gaza war ending, he expects Saudi Arabia to move toward normalization with Israel, two U.S. officials told Axios. U.S. officials told the Saudis they're hoping for progress on that issue around the Trump MBS meeting next week. Now, fast forward, that just happened this week. We'll get you up to par on that. Though they acknowledge the gaps between Saudis and Israelis remain wide, the U.S. officials said the call between Trump and MBS, which was not previously made public, took place after the Gaza Peace Summit in Egypt in October. A U.S. official with direct knowledge of the call said Trump told MBS he'd managed to end the war in Gaza and now wanted the Crown Prince to move toward normalization with Israel. MBS said he was willing to work on it with the Trump administration, the U.S. officials said. The Saudi embassy in Washington didn't respond to requests for comment. Now let's get you to the latest of what took place during this meeting at the White House.
President Trump rolled out the red carpet to welcome Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman at the White House today. The greeting was more elaborate than most foreign visitors receive, signaling the administration's aims to lock in major business and national security deals. The two leaders held a bilateral meeting to discuss some of those ambitions moving forward ahead of a formal dinner planned for later tonight.
Saudi is going to be investing at least $600 billion, and that means investments in plants, in companies, money on Wall Street, and what it really means for everybody that really counts is jobs, a lot of jobs.
CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro joins us now from our Washington bureau. Aaron, what is the White House hoping to gain from the Crown Prince's visit?
An increase of the deal, it seems, as President Trump mentioned that $600 billion agreement when it comes to Saudi investments in the United States. Both he and the Saudi Crown Prince said that will be increased to $1 billion. How could it get there? A senior administration official said they expect that deal to include a multi-billion-dollar investment in U.S. AI infrastructure, the continued involvement of U.S. companies and data centers based in Saudi Arabia.
Here we go with AI infrastructure, data centers.
Trump said they're also working on an agreement for the U.S. to sell advanced AI chips to Saudi Arabia.
More AI.
And another big part of this is defense sales. The F-35 jets that President Trump talked about yesterday, said again today, will be sold to Saudi Arabia. Administration officials have been touting how that will create jobs in the manufacturing of those jets inside the U.S. President Trump added that those jets are, quote, pretty similar to the ones that the U.S. sells to Israel. That's a country that has expressed concern about Saudi Arabia getting this aircraft, though President Trump claimed that they would, quote, be happy about this sale.
Are there any national security concerns presented by some critics as to all of these dealings?
Yeah, the concern is particularly with these jets that potentially, because of Saudi Arabia's continued ties with China, that could be complicating getting this U.S. security aircraft and having it in the hands of Saudi Arabia. But this administration is continuing to go forth with that sale.
This is the first White House visit by a Saudi leader since the murder of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi by Saudi agents. Bin Salman has denied any role in the murder. How was this addressed today?
A journalist pressed both leaders on the killing of Khashoggi, a Washington Post columnist that was killed in that Saudi consulate in Turkey in 2018. And President Trump made some striking comments saying that the Crown Prince, quote, knew nothing about his murder. The president also added, quote, a lot of people didn't like that gentleman, referring to Khashoggi, that you're talking about, and said, quote, whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. A reminder, a U.S. intelligence report in 2021 said that the Crown Prince was implicated in the approval of the killing of Khashoggi Khashoggi. In 2018, during President Trump's first term, the CIA also concluded that MBS ordered the killing of that journalist.
Wow.
And during today's Oval Office appearance, President Trump went to criticize the reporter that asked about
So it looks like to me, guys, that President Trump is turning a blind eye to
it
this.
and said it was, quote, embarrassing to the Crown Prince, the fact that she asked about it. The Crown Prince said it's, quote, really painful to hear about anyone losing their life, but defended the investigation his country did on the killing of Khashoggi and said they did, quote, all the right steps.
We're used to hearing the president be combative with reporters, but today was considerably more striking. Aaron Navarro, thank you. For more on this, I want to bring in senior fellow at the Middle East Institute, Yulia Joja. Thank you so much for being here, Yulia.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay.
So President Trump has pushed for Saudi Arabia to sign the Abraham Accords and normalize ties with Israel. Was there any
Okay, here we go. This is what I wanted to get to.
movement on that front today?
Not officially. We've seen the de facto leader, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, saying that he is interested, that Saudi Arabia is committed to a path towards signing the Abraham Accords, which we know since the first Trump administration is an ultimate priority of Trump, whether first or second administration. Already then, until 2020, Saudi had very clearly stated, including under the leadership of MBS, that this is conditioned, that them entering the Abraham Accords and so normalizing ties to Israel is conditioned by a two-state solution and lasting peace in the Middle East.
Wow, did you hear that? And we'll elaborate a little bit more on that in just a moment.
And so now the add-on that we've seen from the Saudi representative today in the White House has been that, again, they're committed to this path, but that an immediate signature, an immediate buy-in is not in the cards as long as we do not have a two-state solution or a viable path toward that two-state solution. And that probably is conditioned by the further implementation of the 20 points ceasefire plan that is now taking place in the Middle East.
Okay, so I want to stop right here because we're going to go back and I want to show you, I want to give you a different headline here. I'm just going to give you a little bit more detail on what this is talking about. Saudi Arabia is really pushing for a two-state solution. That's the card that they want to play. That is their that's going to be their fallback on whether or not they go through with joining the Abraham Accords. This is the conditions in which they will agree to. All right, let me read this. Saudi Crown Prince tells Trump that Saudi Arabia wants to join Abraham Accords, but only with Palestinian state. All right, so this is exactly what this journalist was saying, but let's get a little bit more detail on this. Saudi Arabia signaled a renewed interest in formal ties with Israel during Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's meeting with Donald Trump at the White House on Tuesday, marking the heir's first visit to Washington in 7 years. According to U.S. officials, the Crown Prince told the president that, again, Saudi Arabia wants to be a part of the Abraham Accords, but also ensure a path to the two-state solution. After the talks, President Trump briefed reporters on the discussion, saying that, quote, the prospect of an agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia received a positive response from the Crown Prince. He also said Saudis were prepared to play a central role in rebuilding Gaza and noted that bin Salman's pledge to definitely help finance reconstruction. During an extended public exchange in the Oval Office, Trump said efforts to advance calm across the region were proceeding cooperatively. The Palestinians were doing very well. We're working very closely with a lot of people. We're working very closely with a lot of people that make everybody happy, including Israel, the Palestinians, and everybody, according to Trump, presenting the talks as part of a, quote, broader diplomatic push. All right, so again, to me, guys, it sounds like I really think that with the pressure of Saudi Arabia coming on Trump, I would not be surprised if Trump really pushes Israel into accepting a two-state solution in the next 3 years of his term. Let me say that again because I want that to go on record because it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. with the close ties with America and Saudi Arabia, with Trump and bin Salman, I would not be surprised if that pressure mounts from Trump against Israel, pushing Israel and pressuring Israel to accept a Palestinian state, aka two-state solution. Why? Because this is the hurdle, guys, that has to be cleared. This is the final boss, if you would, of a Mideast peace plan. This is the elephant in the room. I don't know how many analogies you want from this, but this is the last part of this. And this has to happen in order, and Saudi Arabia hasn't backed down from that. The president also stated he was ready to authorize the sale of top-tier American aircraft. We've already went over that, so I don't want to rehash all this, but let me move down here right here. Any Saudi move toward the Abraham Accords will face political hurdles. There it is. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has consistently rejected the creation of a Palestinian state, even as he welcomed the UN Security Council's endorsement of Trump's Gaza framework, which contains elements pointing to a two-state requirement. Now, Netanyahu recently vowed that no Palestinian state will be west of the Jordan River. Let's read a little bit of this. Israel will not permit the establishment of a Palestinian state anywhere west of the Jordan River. This, again, according to Netanyahu over the weekend, rejecting criticism from its own government while downplaying political differences with the Trump administration over the Gaza peace plan. So see, guys, this is where these mega powers are going to explode. Sorry, I pulled something from the old World Wrestling Federation. You had the Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. They call it the mega powers. And when they came together, they exploded. I'm using that reference here. It's funny, but it makes sense here because you have Netanyahu of Israel and you have Trump of America. And this is where I think you're going to get these mega powers exploding. They're going to come together. There could be a confrontation here because, again, Netanyahu is a thorn in the flesh if it comes down to it and there's international pressure mounting for a Palestinian state from Saudi Arabia, from France, and the vast majority of nations. We saw that at the UN meeting that recently took place in New York. The vast majority of those nations want a two-state solution. They want a Palestinian state, including France, including the United Kingdom, including Australia. America's, they're getting more and more isolated. So you've got this international pressure mounting against Trump, and now you have Saudi Arabia, which that's a big moneymaker. Let's just call it like it is. Huge moneymaker for America. So I can see this coming to a head. Who else can see this? Hit me up in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this. Over the weekend, ministers, these are Israeli ministers in Israel, pressed Netanyahu to openly denounce the latest U.S. draft of a UN Security Council resolution, which endorses a pathway to a Palestinian statehood. Let me read that again. Over the weekend, ministers Ben Gvir and Smotrich, I don't know how you pronounce his name, pressed Netanyahu to openly denounce the latest, yes, ladies and gentlemen, a draft of the United Nations Security Council resolution which endorses a pathway to a Palestinian statehood. One of these individuals said, quote, they will not be a part of any government that agrees to this. I call on the Prime Minister to clarify that the State of Israel will not permit the establishment of a Palestinian state in any form. Leaders from Israel's settlement movement and an opposition lawmaker criticized Netanyahu for not backing legislation to apply Israeli sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, blaming him for the draft resolution backing Palestinian statehood. Speaking at the opening of the weekly government meeting on Sunday, however, Netanyahu rebuffed pressure from the right, reiterating his opposition to the establishment of a Palestinian state anywhere in Judea, Samaria, or Gaza. Now I want to read this. This was published or posted rather from Donald Trump on his Truth Social page. Okay, Let me read this. This is interesting. Listen very closely to the verbiage of this. Quote, congratulations to the world on the incredible vote of the United Nations Security Council just moments ago, acknowledging and endorsing the Board of Peace, which will be chaired by me and include the most powerful and respected leaders throughout the world. This will go down as one of the biggest approvals in the history of the United Nations, will lead to further peace all over the world, and is a moment of true historic proportion. Thank you to the United Nations and all of the countries of the UN Security Council, China, Russia, France, the United Kingdom, Algeria, Denmark, Greece, Guyana, South Korea, Pakistan, Panama, Sierra Leone, Slovenia, and Somalia. And also thank you to those countries that weren't on this committee but strongly backed the effort, including Qatar, Egypt, the UAE, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, and Jordan. The members of the board and many more exciting announcements will be made in the coming weeks. Now, is that not interesting? I think that's interesting. The way that was worded, knowing the Word of God, we're living in incredible times, ladies and gentlemen. You should be excited. We should be excited that we live in such a time as this. That we're seeing things that the prophets would have loved to have been alive to see with their own eyes, that they prophesied, that Zechariah talked about, that Joel talked about, that Daniel talked about. We're living in those days, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. France says it will help draft a constitution for a Palestinian state. France hosted Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in Paris for a meeting on Tuesday, during which President Emmanuel Macron committed to helping the PA draft a constitution for a future state. I mean, these guys are all in this. Macron and France, they're all on board for this. Macron, whose country led the charge in recognizing a Palestinian state during the UN General Assembly back in September, said France and the PA would set up a joint committee to work on drawing up a new framework for the state. This committee will be responsible for working on all legal aspects, constitutional, institutional, and organizational. Adding that Abbas had presented him with the first draft of a potential constitution. He added France would contribute 100 million euros, which is equivalent to $116.62 million in humanitarian aid to Gaza for 2025. Ahead of the meeting, France raised its concern with the PA about recent illicit payments Ramallah made to Palestinian security prisoners, a senior French told the Times of Israel. All right, we're going to skip down here. In September, Macron said his decision to recognize a Palestinian state hinged on commitments from the Palestinian Authority that included the disarmament of Hamas, excluding the terror group from future governance, and implementing an in-depth overhaul of Palestinian governance. Israel has long rejected the formation of a Palestinian state and accused France and other nations that recognize Palestinian statehood recently of rewarding Hamas. Israel has also repeatedly proclaimed that the Palestinian Authority cannot play any role in governing post-war Gaza, although the ideas remain popular among Israel's Western allies. After the meeting, Abbas renewed his commitment to reforms, including, quote, holding presidential and parliamentary elections after the end of the war. Look at this. We are nearing completion of a draft of the Provisional Constitution of the State of Palestine and the laws on elections and political parties, he said, adding that he agreed to the swift establishment of the Constitutional Committee. Quote, we are committed to a culture of dialogue and peace. When they shall say, come on, talk to me, guys, type it out, peace and safety. And we want a democratic, unarmed state committed to the rule of law, transparency, justice, pluralism, and the rotation of power. During the joint press conference, Macron also warned that any Israeli plans for annexation in the West Bank would be a, quote, red line and would provoke a European reaction. Wow. Let me say that again. During the same press conference, Macron warned that any Israeli plans for annexation in the West Bank would be a red line and would be met or provoke a European reaction. Hello, Zechariah 12. The nations of the world will come against Israel. It's been prophesied. This is just the beginning. Now, here's what I found interesting, and just a point of interest for me. I think it's interesting that here you are, you have these threats that are being breathed out by Macron in France. You have these, who God only knows the real dialogue and the in-depth conversation that has went on with the Crown Prince and with Trump regarding the nation of Israel, their plans, a Palestinian state. Nobody really knows, guys. Wouldn't you like to have been a fly on the wall in that conversation? But I do think this is interesting, that something's happening that's taking place in Washington. And I want to read this. America's deadliest volcano enters unprecedented 72-hour tremor phase as eruption threat looms over millions. Washington's Mount Rainier has suddenly awoken. Now, this has been going on for a while. They've been having a series of earthquakes. They've been having earthquake swarms. They've been having activity. But watch this. Has suddenly awoken and is buzzing with almost nonstop activity for days, stoking fears that an eruption could come soon. Now, I know we posted this on our Facebook page, and we had locals there, and this is all hyperbole. This is fear mongering. This is not happening. Look, guys, I'm only presenting the headlines to you. You can do what you want with it, but don't shoot the messenger is what I'm saying here. All right, let's go on. This towering stratovolcano looms over more than 3.3 million people across the Seattle-Tacoma metro area, threatening to cripple entire communities with ashfall, flooding, and catastrophic mud flows if it erupts. Since Saturday, Mount Rainier has been experiencing constant vibrations beneath the surface, thousands of tiny tremors blending into one another. The constant seismic rumblings were detected by the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, where seismometers on Mount Rainier have recorded 3 straight days of nearly nonstop high-energy seismic signals across the west flank of the volcano. Now, I know a lot of people has been focused on Yellowstone. What if Yellowstone erupts? It's a super volcano. It would be catastrophic. But this is a deadly volcano, guys. If it erupts, let me read on here. We'll talk about that. Unlike the seismic activity tied to major earthquakes, the patterns being seen in Washington look more like a volcanic tremor, a type of nonstop hum or roar that begins when magma, hot water, and gas move around inside a volcano. It doesn't mean Mount Rainier is going to erupt at any moment, but it is a warning sign. Oh, I want to highlight that. It is a warning sign that volcanic activity could eventually build towards a critical level. Now, I want to pull this away and I'm going to talk to you for a moment. You've heard me talk about that there's direct correlations between what America does with Israel and how they treat Israel and natural disasters, hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, etc. When God brings judgment, many times he uses the 4 elements of the earth, wind, water, and fire. Volcanic eruptions can fall in both earth and fire because it involves earthquakes. It involves the eruption of something from the earth, but it produces fire and ash and brimstone coming down out of the heavens and the magma flow and everything. So God, look at Pompeii. We could go into that and we could talk about how I believe that was a form of judgment because of the lifestyle that was going on centered around the very location of where Pompeii erupted. And go read about the civilization there and what they were involved in, the blasphemy and the disgusting things that were seen, just like you would read about in Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, geologists will be watching for keys of this volcanic tremor escalating, including its severity increasing in the coming days. Actual earthquakes starting inside the volcano and the ground at Mount Rainier beginning to swell. When this volcano eventually explodes, it won't be scorching lava flows or choking clouds of ash that threaten Americans, but the lahars, violent, fast-moving mud flows that can tear across entire communities in mere minutes. I believe that's how you say that, large lahars can crush, bury, or carry away almost anything in their path, according to the USGS. I want to get down here, and I want to read this. The last eruption of Mount Rainier was a minor one in 1884. Its last major eruption occurred about 1,100 years ago, and the last significant magmatic eruption was around 1,000 years ago. Volcano watchers on social media spotted the fresh readings from PNSN, noting that vibrations of the mountain went from normal to chaotic in a matter of hours. Seismometers registered a sharp spike around 5 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, which proceeded to grow in strength throughout the day. On seismic instruments, this was recorded as a line that continued to get fuzzier and fuzzier as more time passed, eventually looking like a thick black line as the vibrations increased. All right, so they're giving you details about this latest activity of this this possible eruption of this volcano. In July, over 1,000 earthquakes rocked the area over a span of more than 3 weeks, and the largest ever seismic swarm recorded at the mountain. Let me say that again. Back in July, there was over 1,000 earthquakes that rocked this area, and it was the largest ever seismic swarm recorded at the mountain. So then things kind of calmed down, but now they have reawakened. Wow. So guys, look, I'm not a seismologist. I'm not a geologist. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a watchman. But I do know this, that if I lived in the Seattle-Tacoma metro area, I would definitely be alert and be paying attention to what's going on. And especially when there is the prospects and it's on the table of pressure in Israel to form a two-state solution, which again, Netanyahu is against. And as we know it, so far, the Trump administration is against it, but be watching for growing pressure and international pressure to mount for Israel to be pressured into a two-state solution. That's what I would watch for. Now, meanwhile, we got this. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, a volcanic eruption at Mount Semeru sent ash over 6,500 feet into the sky, threatening air traffic. According to this report, Indonesia's Mount Semeru volcano erupted Wednesday afternoon around 4 p.m. local time, again sending ash more than 6,500 feet in the air, according to data from the country's Center for Volcanology. The eruption was ongoing as of Wednesday local time. Indonesian officials raised the volcano activity level to level 4, which is the highest warning, denoting an ongoing eruption. All right, Australia's Bureau of Meteorological Volcanic Ash Advisory Center, which is responsible for the airspace around Southeast Asia, issued a volcanic ash advisory for air traffic, stating that the eruption is posing an immediate threat to aviation. So here's some images of this. Here's a picture of this eruption. Here's another image for you guys that are watching this by visual of this. So here we have another major volcanic eruption. And this is not surprising, because the prophet Joel told us in the last days, prior to the great and terrible day of the Lord, that there would be on the earth, there would be blood, fire, and pillars of smoke, which in my opinion very well could be indicators of volcanic eruptions taking place as the birth pangs intensify. If you think about Romans 8, says the whole earth is in travail. If the earth is in travail, and we know that in the core of the earth is hot magma, and as it travails, it's releasing these gases, releasing the magma, releasing pressure. So what is it going to do? It's going to produce large mega earthquakes. It's going to produce volcanic eruptions. It's going to produce these things. So this is not surprising at all. Meanwhile, this is not surprising either. And I want to read this. Here we are. Think about this for a second. Here we are a week away from Thanksgiving. We're going into Thanksgiving holiday. We're going into Christmas holiday. And lo and behold, a Washington state resident has now been hospitalized and is severely ill with a strain of virus that has never before been confirmed in humans. That's right. It's happening again, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here's one.
Tonight at 4, health officials in Washington state confirm a resident has been hospitalized with bird flu. So it's the first U.S. case in 9 months. So this strain has not been seen in humans before, and it's unclear how the recent older patient actually got infected. Health leaders are now reaching out to close contacts to monitor the symptoms right now. Officials say the risk to the public remains low.
All right, the patient, an older adult with underlying conditions, was hospitalized with a strain of bird flu in early November after suffering from a high fever, confusion, and severe breathing difficulties. They were first treated by doctors in Grays Harbor County, about 100 miles west of Seattle, before being transferred to an unnamed hospital in King County, where Seattle was based for specialist care. So here we are again with the whole Seattle area. Lab tests confirmed the patient was infected with H5N5, a strain of bird flu previously detected in animals, but, quote, never before recorded in humans. Where the strain could be determined, all previous human cases have been infected with H5N1 strain. Experts said the appearance of this strain in humans show the virus's unpredictable evolution. Pay attention to this. There is currently no evidence, however, that the strain is more infectious or severe in humans than other strains of the virus. The case marks the first bird flu infection detected anywhere in the U.S. in at least 8 months, and the first recorded in Washington State this year. So here we go again. I'm not surprised because the bird flu affects poultry, okay? So they're already saying that the average, this holiday season, especially Thanksgiving, since that's going to be the first season coming up, they're saying it's going to cost the average individual $1,000 because of inflation, the increase of food costs, and this and that. And now we have this coming. Come on, guys. This is unbelievable. And then if you didn't watch last night's podcast, we talked about the elites have a publication for the elites. It's kind of like how they communicate to one another. And every single year they put out a publication called The Economist. And we did a whole podcast on that last night. And we showed you that there was pictures and illustrations on the cover of what they're projecting and what they're predicting for the year 2026. And in there, consequently, there was kind of hints at another pandemic. There was vaccine syringes. There was people wearing masks. There was things. So again, would anyone be shocked by this or surprised by this? This is why I always say, keep your head on a swivel, pay attention to your surroundings, be prayed up, get under the blood of Jesus, get your name in the Lamb's Book of Life, and be watchful and be ready, because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We don't know what 2026 is fully going to bring, but I think everybody out there, myself, including you and those that are listening, are already expecting, if 2025 was this turbulent, what is 2026 going to bring? So, guys, I wanted to get you up to par with this. I think there's just be watching for a couple things. One is that pressure to mount against Israel and coming from America as well. I think pressure is going to come against Trump. He's going to be pressured internationally speaking. He's going to be pressured economically speaking. He's going to be pressured by Saudi Arabia. He's going to be pressured by other quote unquote allies of the U.S., if that's what you want to, that have already jumped on board for a Palestinian state. And all that pressure is going to mount against Trump. And I believe we could see him pressure Netanyahu. So be looking for that. And I don't know how fast it's going to come, but I'm expecting that to probably happen in 2026. Now, whether that will be a full Palestinian state, it's yet to be seen. But we do know, prophetically speaking, again, according to Zechariah 12, what does it say? That Israel and Jerusalem, especially Jerusalem, will become a cup of trembling to all the world as they try to heave it away, as they try to divide it. And Joel, the prophet Joel, says that nations of the world will turn against Israel and divide them for land. Okay, and that's why they'll enter into judgment accordingly. All right, so that's something to keep an eye on. Keep an eye on the next pandemic. We've been told it's not a matter of if, but when it's going to happen. And how convenient it would be if it starts popping up and rearing its head right now and during this season, because after all, it's quote unquote cold and flu season, right? So it's a lot of stuff to keep paying attention to. If you live in the Seattle, Tacoma area, who knows what's going to happen with Mount Rainier? And is that going to blow? Is it going to erupt? Is this another Mount St. Helens? It's just a ticking time bomb ready to explode in our lifetime. Don't know. I wish I could tell you, but I will tell you this. According to the word of God, birth pangs are going to intensify. Birth pangs are going to increase. I told you, like we said in Joel, there will be volcanic eruptions in these last days. The earth will produce these type of disasters. And that doesn't mean, and look, and I believe the church will be here for a lot of that. Okay. We're not going to, yes, I believe we're going to escape the tribulation, but a lot of these things could happen before the tribulation takes place. Just look at history, guys. Okay. Don't think that, we're not going to be here for anything bad and we're going to be taken out. Again, go back in history, tell that to everyone else who's already went through some stuff. Okay. So, we're just trying to be truthful to you. We want you to be prepared. We want you to be, we don't want you to be caught off guard by these things. So again, be prayed up, get under the blood, get in the presence of God and get your house in order because you really don't know what tomorrow will bring. Listen, endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com. That's going to be our main website. If you don't have our free app, we want to encourage you to pick it up today. You can find it on Apple and Android. Just type in End Time Headlines, look for our official ETH logo. Once you download it, hit yes to push notifications. You'll get every podcast, breaking news, headlines, everything will be right at your fingertips. And if this ministry blesses you, encourages you, equips you, you find value in it, and you'd like to pray about becoming a monthly partner of our ministry to help us continue to do what we do week after week, then here's a short video for you, and then we'll be right back.
If you enjoy our content and would like to partner with End Time Headlines, helping us make more people aware of the times and seasons which we are in from a prophetic perspective, you can go to endtimeheadlines.org and click Support. Here you can give a one-time gift or a monthly pledge on our main website. This page also shows you how to give electronically through Cash App or Venmo. If you would like to give by check or money order, you can make it out to End Time Headlines at P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia 30655. Or you can give through our free End Time Headlines app by pressing the bottom right button that says Donate.
All right, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for all of our partners and supporters of our ministry. Without your help, again, we would not be able to do what we do. And thank you guys for everybody joining us. I know it's a Wednesday night. Many of you guys have a midweek service. Thank you those that were able to join us live in the premiere of this at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. But also welcome everybody that's coming in afterwards and watching the rebroadcast of this. And you guys on Apple and Spotify listening whenever you can make it as well. So we appreciate that as well. So we're going to sign off for tonight. Again, look for us tomorrow night, Thursday, November the 20th, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here, same time, same place, same channel for another great podcast. We'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.